Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Paradise 2 Cents. The 2023-24 NFL season has been a bunch of chaos, and I will make a video on season as a whole. Um, Either sometime soon, maybe before next week's games. Who knows? Um, but one thing that has definitely contributed to the chaos is, of course, boy, injuries. I hate injuries. There's been a lot of them. Some of them very serious. Some of them were just kind of weird and funny and didn't really last long. Not really funny, but like the reactions were kind of amusing. And yeah, other people reacted kind of funny to it. I don't know. But yeah, today we're gonna go over the top 20 worst injuries of the 2023 NFL season. Um, Ranging from season enders to ones that they didn't even waste or they didn't even miss any time. The ones that didn't even happen in a game. So let's get into it. Starting off with number 20, David Njoku's facial burns. Um, this one was weird. It's the only one not happen on a field at all. Um, so Ramstein and David Njoku on September 29th was lighting a fire pit at his house when the fire burned his face. He would post some pretty gruesome pictures to social media, but he would continue to play through it, and a lot of fans and even some sports medicine doctors praised his toughness and also kind of cringed at the pictures because they were admittedly kind of gruesome. Thankfully, he's fine and he's been doing okay for Cleveland. He actually had another mishap at home. I didn't really read much into that, but he seems to be fine. Um, so yeah, I did include. It's the only one I included that wasn't on a football field. Um, I included this because it was just uh, it was kind of notable and those pictures really went viral, didn't they? It's number 19 now. Travis Kelce got a knee injury in practice before week two. Um, did not miss any time. He also had a couple other injuries. Or I think one other injury. I think he had an elbow injury or an arm injury. I think a couple weeks ago against New England. I think. Didn't miss much time there. Um, uh, One injury I know he's been suffering from is well, an inflated ego because all those commercials he's been doing have honestly I feel like those all the commercials him and Mahomes and Reed have been doing have been distracting the Chiefs and have partially led to their less than stellar 9-6 record this season. So yeah. Other than that, yeah, he has been Kelsey has been relatively banged up this year. Doesn't usually get this injured, so yeah, I hope he doesn't get hurt anytime soon. Um, and number 18 is Jamal Adams in week 4 against the Giants when he suffered a concussion after a knee to the head by Daniel Jones on a tackle. Um, Actually yelled at the concussion protocol guy on the sidelines. Only missed 1 week with that injury. Although just last week he got, I think it was a shoulder injury or something. And he's out for the next 4 weeks, which means unless the Seahawks make it deep into the playoffs, because he's missing this week, next week. Yeah, unless they make it to the NFC Championship game, which spoilers, they're not going to. like like the Seahawks are good, but they're not that good. Then he's out for the season. So yeah, pretty much the season ender there. But I also wanted to point out the concussion from week 4 because that was a silly little moment when he yelled at the concussion protocol guy. Number 17 is TJ Watt in week 14. Um, he also got a concussion, well, head injury. Somebody got him in the head. Um, he was given smelling salts and a tinted visor for God knows what reason. Somehow stayed in the game. And did not miss any time there. I think he missed a couple plays, but not much. Um, at 16 is Saquon Barkley, who in week 2 against Arizona, um, limped off with ankle injury and only missed 1 week. It looked bad, and I was like, oh god, no, not this again. The Saquon getting back to his injury ways. Thankfully, he did not. Only missed 1 game and came back, and it's been available for most of the rest of the season. At 15 is Trooper Cup, who before week 1, it was in practices before week 1. I think it was in preseason. He pulled his hamstring and missed 4 weeks, which opened the door for uh, one of the biggest steals of the draft in Puka Nacua to have a really good first 4 weeks, and he's carrying on throughout the rest of the season. I think he was like top 5 in receiving yards, I think. I think he's still like up there ish. Definitely in conversation for the offensive rookie of the year, if not for a man named CJ Stroud. Um, um, although Stroud's recent injury problems, um, Cup could definitely, or not Cup, Nacua could definitely take that spot. Um, Stroud concussion, like, I didn't really want to put it here because it's just a normal, it's just a concussion. Like, there wasn't really any notable stuff. Anyway, 14, that was Tyreek Hill's ankle injury in week 14. It was a pretty hard tackle against the Titans. And he hurt his ankle, and it's been semi-available since then. I think he missed week 15. He's been on the injury report the last 2 weeks, but has played both played last week and is expected to play this week as well. Um, I'm pretty sure he did miss the 1 week, which could put a damper in his quest for that mythical 2,000 receiving yards mark, which still can't believe it's possible. Anyway, at 13 is another wide receiver who is also really good, Justin Jefferson. In week 14 against the Raiders, he got hit in the chest and actually got taken to the hospital. Um, uh, Thankfully, he was okay. Turned week 15 the next week, after being released from the hospital. Um, and that was the same game that he had returned from a hamstring injury that had kept him out for the previous 6 weeks. So, yeah, that didn't really last long. Thankfully, he is back and doing okay, which is good because the Vikings definitely need him for a potential playoff push, especially considering somebody else coming up on this list is out for the year. At number 12 is Traylon Burks in week 9 against the Steelers. When another brutal tackle, just like Hill, except he was knocked unconscious and had to be stretchered off, which was not nice to see. He missed a few weeks, I think like 2 or 3 weeks. At 11 is Damian Harris of the Buffalo Bills, who in week 6 against the Giants was stretchered off and taken into an ambulance actually after a neck/concussion injury. Um, He was originally predicted to return week 11. I think he might have. I don't know. Haven't really heard much about that. Couldn't really find any information about what he's been doing since then. Um, Number 10 is Christian Kirk of the Jaguars, who in week 13 in Cincinnati, there's going to be a lot of these. Uh, he suffered a groin injury. Um, and he's expected to return in the divisional round if Jacksonville makes it there. Um, and that's the best case scenario. Uh, at number 9 is Trevor Lawrence's high ankle sprain that he didn't miss any time for. Well, he missed the rest of that game. It was the same game as Kurt's injury, Week 13 in Cincinnati. Um, and yeah, he missed most of the rest of the game. Came back in next game and has been okay. I think he's on the injury list again, um, for something else. But he's fine. Although since the ankle injury, Jaguars have very not been fine. They were like 8-4 at one point. I think if they won that game against Kansas City, I think they would have had the number one seed in the AFC at one point. That is a massive nope now. They're 8-7, and they're in a three-way tie for the NFC AFC South. Now we get to the season-ending injuries. There's a lot of these. At number 8 is Mark Andrews' ankle injury in Week 11 against Cincinnati. So many Cincinnati games. I know. This one was on a hip drop tackle, a lot, fans and some doctors as well have been calling to be outlawed from the league. Er, um, although they also say that it's probably gonna be tough to get that rule implemented the because of the vagueness of like what's a hip drop tackle, what isn't. Lamar also got a hip drop tackle from behind in that same game. Thankfully, was not hurt. But yeah, Andrews is out for the year. He might come back in the playoffs if they make it far. But for now, he's out for the year. At number 7 is Anthony Richardson's AC joint sprain in Week 5 against the Titans, or dislocated AC joint, whatever it was. Some with the AC joint. He had a concussion earlier in the season, like Week 2 or Week 3. Missed most of or the rest of that game in part, and like didn't play. I think missed one game entirely. But came back, still looked good. Then the AC joint sprain happened, and he had to get surgery and is out for the year. Um, but he potentially make a comeback if the Colts make a deep run. Who knows? Who knows? At number 6 is Mike Williams in Week 3 against the Vikings. I feel so bad for this guy. Like he's been dealing with injuries for the last like 3 or 4 years, and then he suffers a torn ACL against the Vikings. Ends his season. Chargers are having a really bad year. They could probably really use him right about now. Yeah, it just sucks. It just sucks. Um, at number 5 is Deshaun Watson's season-ending shoulder injury. It was apparently a displaced fracture. This was in Week 10 against Baltimore. Um, Again, like this guy and his injuries, man. Like even after like everybody thought he was gonna be like actually like have a full season and be good last year, and I got injured a bunch. I think he actually had a shoulder injury last year as well. Um, and then now he gets another shoulder injury. Um, yes. Some people are already calling this the worst trade ever. I don't blame you if you do call it that. Anyway, number 4, uh, that goes to Joe Burrow's season-ending wrist injury in Week 11 against Baltimore. Um, oh boy, Burrow's wrist. That was he like randomly after one play he just couldn't throw. He was rolling up on the sideline a bunch. Couldn't throw. Uh, and eventually he tried to come back in the game, but he didn't. Eventually it was reported that was going to be a season ender. Like that's a season ender. Okay, sure. Um, uh, Thankfully for the Bengals, Jake Browning of all people has been doing surprisingly well, and they are still in the playoff hunt. They're tied with a couple other teams for the last wildcard spot. Cool. Um, but yeah. Uh, Oof to Joe Burrow's season. At number 3 is Kirk Cousins' Achilles injury in Week 8 against Green Bay. Much like another one that that I think you know what's coming later. Uh, yeah, this was just bad. Like the Vikings had started really bad. I think they were like 1-4. Um, they they clawed their way back to I think near 500, and then Cousins tears his Achilles. Josh Dobbs actually has a pretty good run for a while, and then starts to really falter. We're currently sitting 7-8, tied for the last wild card spot, or one game behind the last wild card spot. Um, they have a huge matchup today against the Packers. If they lose that, they're pretty much out. It's pretty much a loser gets eliminated, and Corner has a decent shot at the playoffs. Um, but yeah, that was not the best. And season's over, and yeah, sorry, Vikings. And this was a very tough decision. Okay, never mind, it was not tough at all. But this one was a very tough. This was a very hard injury to watch. They didn't even show a replay of it. Uh, and it's Nick Chubb's ACL tear in Week 2 against Pittsburgh. Um, there's this Pittsburgh fan that I watch on YouTube that does like reviews of every week in the NFL, and even he was like really angry that Chubb got injured. Like it's Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. You would like any advantage against the other, especially when both teams are actually kind of good this year. Would really help. But yeah, even he was sad that Chubb got hurt. I mean, sometimes you gotta put your bias aside. That was a horrible injury, man. Um, and then they re-signed Kareem Hunt, which was funny. Who they'd gotten rid of a while back. And now they're 11-5 with no Deshaun Watson or Nick Chubb somehow. Um, uh, Joe Flacco of all people. Yep, Joe King Flacco. And also a really good defense. So yeah, Miles Garrett's on the planet this year. So yeah, there's that. And number one, in almost any other year, Chubb's ACL tear probably would have been number one here. But I mean, there's no denying it. It's Rogers' Achilles injury in week one. Like, just the oh my god, that thing that was so meme worthy. Like four offensive snaps, big handoff run. Uh, I think like I think what one pass. I think an incomplete or one pass, like a run that didn't go anywhere, and then that sack that also led to an Achilles tear. Um, Rodgers did get experimental surgery, and he thought he could make a full recovery by the end of the season, but that's sadly not the case. Jets are 6-10. Even if Rodgers was healthy, he probably wouldn't play. But hopefully, for Jets fans, because I honestly want to see their pain end. Um, hopefully Rodgers can make a full recovery because he already seems like he's on his way to doing that. And hopefully the Jets can make the playoffs again and do things like everybody thought they would this year. Um, so yeah, that's my list for the top 20 worst NFL injuries of 2023. Let's hope that there aren't like 5 more gruesome injuries today because there's like 14 games. Um, and yeah, till then, it's Peyton checking out.